Okay, so what I want you to do, Kale, is I want you to show everybody where your superficial backline is, okay? So as a group, where does his superficial backline start? If we're going to start at the ground.
Your plantar surface of your topophalanges.
Perfect, okay, and then what happens?
Plantar fascia.
Then you're going to plantar fascia. Plantar fascia. Plantar fascia.
Plantar fascia, and that moves into the
Calcaneus.
from the calcaneus. Where does it go?
Gastroc.
Achilles.
So it goes through the Achilles up into the gastroc, and then
To the condyles of the femur.
Yeah.
lateral condyles of the femur, right?
Right.
Okay, and then where does the connection go from there?
It bifurcates and connects up with the hamstring.
Hamstrings, and then where do the hamstrings attach?
Ischial tuberosity.
Okay, from the ischial tuberosity, then what happens?
Sacrotuberous ligament.
Into the
Sacrum.
Sacrotuberous ligament and then to the sacrum.
Sacrotuberous ligament and then to the sacrum.
Yep, and then where?
Sacrolumbar fascia.
Yeah.
Rectus
spinae.
Okay, and then from there,
Occipital ridge. Occipital ridge.
and what's the last part?
Vitellia ponerotica. Epicranial fascia.
Scalp.
Into the
Supraorbital ridge.
do that. That's fantastic. You guys have done this before, eh?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so then can somebody go to Kale and draw that line just so everybody can see that?
Hey, you gonna stand here? I'll stand sideways. You can see me from the side, from my back.
Beautiful.
SBL.
Draw the line?
Pick up your foot.
Yep, draw that line so everybody can see it.
Okay.
I like that.
Here you go. Start from here. Oh, here we go. This will be better.
Ah, too bad. Jake, you're an all-star. I mean, Mr. Dumont, you're an all-star.
Thank you.
It's Jake's pleasure.
Oh.
I try to get it under there. Let go right now. There you go. Let go.
That is fantastic. Perfect. Okay, does everybody have any questions about the superficial backline to start?
No.
Kind of.
No?
No, it looks pretty good.
Beauty. Okay, let's go to the superficial front line then. Let's just review the structure, okay? So, let's get somebody else stand up. Kale, you did a fantastic job with the shoulder.
Oh! You broke it.
Okay, next.
It's mine, Jason and Michael.
Okay.
All right, okay, so what's your name?
Jason?
Jason, all right. So, let's all help Jason and get him to show us the superficial front line, okay? So, where are you going to start?
The dorsal surface of my toe phalanges.
Okay?
Right here on top.
And then what?
Anterior tib and short and long toe extensors.
And the anterior curl compartment.
Beautiful, that's really important. Okay, so where is the next attachment?
The tibial tuberosity.
Okay, and then where does it go?
Subpatellar tendon.
Into the,
Patella.
from there?
Rectus femoris.
And the rest
Quadriceps.
of your quads.
Okay, into,
The
Ischial.
anterior inferior iliac spine.
inferior iliac spine. That's important to make sure that we differentiate the inferior and superior iliac spine. So anterior, inferior iliac spine, and then what happens?
And
And into the pubic
pubic tuberosity.
tubercle.
Okay, how does that happen?
Through the deep front line part of the rectus abdominis, derailment.
Well, no, if you were to continue, it would go through the deep front line.
What?
If you were to continue going in the straight line, it would end up being the deep front line. If it's
Yeah,
just going to be the superficial, you have to come back down to the pubic floor.
Yeah, well, I know that's what I'm saying.
So that's up kind of happening like this, right? It
Yeah.
stops at the ASIS,
Yeah.
and then it starts again at the pubic tubercle way over in the middle. So how does that equal the same line?
I don't know if I was stuck.
I wasn't sure.
Well, we're going to ask you. Not sure.
That is a good question.
Ask
That
me.
was a question.
That was one of our questions to you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a good question, so I'll answer that in a second, okay? Let's continue on for the pubic tubercle. What happens superior to that?
Rectus abdominis.
Okay, into what?
The fifth
Fifth
rib.
rib.
Fifth ribs? What happens from the fifth
The
ribs?
sternalis, sternochondral fascia.
Something like that.
Something like that, yes.
And then where is it attached to?
The manubrium.
Perfect, and then how does it finish off?
Yeah, the sternocleidomastoid to the
And then goes into the,
mastoid process.
and then it just,
Scalp fascia.
actually wraps around
Wraps
right into the
around.
scalp fascia. Very nice. Okay. I'm gonna use this for a couple reasons today. It's a banana. Okay? If I had an attachment on this side, and I moved it, does this side move?
Yes.
Yes. So think about your quadricep moving into your anterior inferior iliac spine, and then think about the pubic tubercle, okay? If this is going to move, it's part of the same thing. It's a mechanical connection. And this is really one of the only differences in the anatomy trains book, is that it says that it has to be continuity with the line, it has to move in the same direction. Correct? It has to be the same depth.
Indeed.
Now, the ASIS and the pubic tubercle, those attachments are at the same depth, just as the attachment for the quadricep and the beginning of the rectus abdominis, again at the same depth. Very superficial. So what they've said is that, again, because if the pelvis, if the ASIS is going to move, there's going to be a resultant reaction at the pubic tubercle. Okay, so since they're both attaching to the front of the pelvis, if there's a posterior tilt, there's going to be a posterior tilt and a resultant reaction through the myofascia, exactly the same.
Just like
Likewise, if there's an anterior tilt, they're both going to lengthen. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Is there any questions with that?
Just where the actual attachment is, it running through straight through the rectus abdominis to attach? Is that still all the same?
I'm sorry, what was that?
So that's still all the same with the rectus abdominis down here as it goes.
Yeah, so it's going to come, like your ASIS is right here, correct?
Right.
Pubic tubercle is right here. So there's not an actual, it's a mechanical connection. So the only reason is because if my hips move this way, if my hips move this way, they're both getting long. If they both go back, they're both going to get short. Okay, it's connected through the fascial lining in the bone itself.
Okay.
Okay? So it's still part of the same myofascial tract, but it's not like the hamstring and the calf, right? It's not like the gastroc comes up and then connects to the hamstring and then continues on.
Right.
If you take a look at the diagrams in the book, like it's very separate actually, but there's obviously through the periosteum in the bone, there'll be a connection through the the anterior inferior iliac spine, and there'll be that periosteum connection into the pubic tubercle. But there's also a very sharp direction change. And that's one of the contraindications in the anatomy trains, that there can be a change in direction. But the line of pull is the same, and because if there's any shift in the bone, the same reaction will happen. They can continue that line on that way.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions with that?
No, that's pretty much it right there.
I'm not
Beautiful. Okay. So if we know the superficial back line, the structures of it, we know the structure of the superficial front line, what are the actions of those two lines? Or what's the function of those two lines?
Keep us erect?
Yep.
Yeah, superficial backs to keep us erect.
Pardon me?
Superficial backs to keep us erect.
It's postural function.
Okay.
Postural function.
And this SFL is to balance the SBL.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there already a connection or a synergy between those lines?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the